slowly. Not when you hold me.
What's good, world? It's Jai Hudson from Beyond the Bottom Line, episode 2. We got Christopher Boersema, a philosopher, a DJ, a modern day stoic, here in the building today on the Limits of Self. Let's go.
Hello world, my name is Christopher Boersema. Welcome. Today I bring to you beautiful news as I have just launched a company called Antidote International. It's an apparel company based on the West Coast in Los Angeles, California. We basically took a company or a duo between my mother and I and started a company that has to do with sexual assault and domestic violence. And we are promoting awareness through our poems and our t-shirts that we're going to be made for women and men. There will be different products down the line. First one is for women, and 10% of our proceeds are going to be going to victims of domestic violence and assault, legal representation. So anybody that can't afford the legal representation when they're in such lawsuits or case, we go ahead and provide for them. And there are over 20 different institutions and organizations across the globe that support the awareness from men and women, because both are abused. And so that is our company. We started there about a week ago, and we'll be launching our first product line this week. Sure. All right. What's up, man?
Les, good to see you.
Good to see you. A pleasure as always.
The apparel company. I looked at the website. It looks great. You got some poetry on there.
Thank you.
It sounds beautiful. It says about the lady that loses her voice and she sees an illusion to lose her voice, and she finds her voice again. She has a freedom song, and it's broken down to acronym.
Yes.
It says Antidote. I love the images behind it.
Thank you.
So what are the designs and what is the clothing gonna look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're basically taking, it's a organic bamboo shirt, and it's a female, so it goes across. It's almost like a poncho where it comes across the side, and the women can blow it across one shoulder or both shoulders. So with that, we're taking eyes, right? Eyes are windows to the soul. So with my mother's eyes across the t-shirt, and laid across top is going to be one of my mom's writings and one of the pieces of poetry that she had written about her voice and her soul and finding that dance again within her. So it's beautiful to hear where she came from, and then in the writing you'll see that she's no longer being tortured or tormented in that relationship and that pain, and her voice comes out and she sings it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Alright, so if I understand this correctly, it has something to do or inspired by to be the antidote against domestic abuse?
Yeah, and I could further elaborate onto that. We're all in relationships, and I can say from my personal experience, when I found out my mom was a victim last year of sexual assault, it could go to each level. It doesn't have to be just the physical part. There's verbal abuse as well, and it's how we say it, So if we go about and we're all very unaware that a lot of the insecurities and emotions that we have are tied into the relationships, and sometimes we share them with our partner. And it has nothing to do with race or sex. You could be gay, transgender, lesbian, however you want to look at it. Each one is affected. So with that being with my mom, I knew that this happens on a regular basis. Now, 80% of women are victims of it, and 20% of men are the ones that are receiving it. But then it goes also to 80% of men are the ones that are the ones committing it. So me being as a man and my mother being a victim, I couldn't let my mother go without a voice being heard, and I won't tolerate it. So if I won't tolerate it for any other woman, well, why not my mother? And I began this process of, let's get this voice heard. And with what's going on in the world today, on the higher level in Hollywood, and a lot of these men have been hiding behind the dollar amount, and even just without money, these relationships, and these women are finding these voices, right? Their women are finding the voices right now. So I wanted to stand behind the women as well, especially with my mother, saying, look, I stand for women's rights as well, and the right to be treated with respect and dignity dignity and honor. And that goes with humanity. It's not just men to women and women to men. That is to each other. And so truth is the global antidote, and that's what we came up with. Is, you've got the venom, you get the serum. Well, what's the global antidote? It's awareness and us to stop being ignorant. And that is the major mission behind this company, is awareness.
And you guys also have percentages of the sales goes to the cases?
Yeah, absolutely. So women and men and anybody out there that has legal troubles with from these domestic abuse and these domestic situations, and they can't afford the legal representation, 10% of the proceeds from each shirt purchased goes towards an organization that helps to fund and support anybody in the situation of domestic violence and sexual assault.
Major, man.
So thanks, man.
Hey, I hope that they take that to another step. Like, I hope the success comes from this, to support it, because you're supporting art.
Yeah.
You're supporting design. You're supporting a great purpose. I hope your company grows and more companies grow just like that, or it comes in between yours to have it back up people that are, going through police brutality. You know what I mean? So like, if what you're doing is a success through domestic abuse,
right? And
you could help fight that through your
larger
clothing.
Scale.
Man, it would inspire more companies to do the same, or your company just to grow and be a force for good.
Yeah, and John, that's the huge thing, is I want not only, the primary purpose is not the dollar amount behind this, and that is always the beautiful thing, is the message, and that goes for everybody, like you said. So if somebody picks up on this and somebody says, this is such a great idea, I want to contribute to it, well, run with it. We encourage that. We're not trying to corner a market, we're just trying to spread love and compassion and show that everybody's equal in this world, and we're fighting the battle of that. So thanks, man, I appreciate that.
That's proper, man.
Thank you.
It's proper showstopper.
Thank you.
Other than that, let's get on to the topic of the day.
All right.
Limits of self.
Limits of self, my friend. Limits of self. Yes. Which also brought me to the position of this company. For me, limits of self was always my mind. It was always coming to how my mind can stop me from doing great things, right? Because they're fears, they're insecurities of what we think of ourselves. And I kept pushing forward, and I battled with drug abuse, and alcoholism for a long time, and always found that the bottle would lead me to failure, demoralization, as they say, incomprehensible. So as I pushed forward and I kept going, and I fell probably 1,006,000 times. So that was my limit of self, was A, not trusting myself, B, feeling like I could never achieve a certain level because I didn't have a certain trait or a certain quality. And after I got done and put everything into perspective, realizing my mind is the only thing stopping me, hence getting out of your own way, that became my limits of self. My limit of self was my foundation, right? Because in the world today, we can't go far without having a foundation. It's inside of us, and you can't trust yourself. So it's just like a house. You got to have a good foundation of a house in order to withstand a storm. And you got to be in the center of the storm and be able to find peace. So I sat in the center of my own storm, because we come in the world alone, we'll go out alone, and it's us against us. So, my friend, I had to learn to break free of what I was limited to within. So what I had my beliefs of, my fears, ultimate fears, and get that courage and jump. So limits of self for me was a huge part of what held me back, and allowing my emotions not to control me, because my emotions don't. It's just a thought. Right. So that was a huge part. Please.
Man, I guess within everybody's life, they got their fundamental weakness. They got their fundamental ties of what holds them back.
Yes.
A relationship of your own children could be considered a fundamental weakness. You have a responsibility towards them, so there's certain things that you shouldn't do. The limits could be there, but they could also be overcome not only from detachment, but through growth.
Huge growth, massively. And I believe, not to interject, but that a lot of what we also impose on ourselves is society-based. Society puts what the norm should be, from the magazines, what you should look like, what you should think, what you should eat. So we take with those, and it's a constant filter every single day, right? We're filtering in and out, and until we can figure out what works well for us, because we each have our own test, we try to copy off of other people, do other people, but ultimately we'll end up failing because it's not meant for us. So yeah, it's definitely, when you talk about the children and understanding that we do not own our children, we do not own another human being. So we just have to do our best to allow them to grow into something beautiful on their own terms, but guiding them without our, downloading our stuff that we may have learned over the years, that's not healthy. We got to be very careful with that. I think we should all sit down and take a look at the limits of self. What stops you from having the job or losing the weight or having the diet? And a lot of it is a plan without action.
What's holding you back from achieving your greatness?
Your greatness.
And I mean, the first step I took towards walking towards my path and sticking towards my path, focusing on my goal and sticking to the target, was the death of ego. Getting rid of the hierarchy of judgment between relationships, the person or the thing that's on the other side of you, to balance out.
It's tremendous, man. It's tremendous.
The death of ego is definitely the start. It is.
It's
definitely not the stop.
It's not the stop.
It's not the speed bump. I got many speed bumps, so that's not it.
Some of those speed bumps are really difficult sometimes, and I love to bring, and my personal, I love music, I'm a musician. Bob Dylan says it amazingly. He says, "Let me die in my footsteps," and then we ultimately live. And for me, what he's speaking of is the ego. And if you can stop and kill the ego as you're standing, then you ultimately live. And everybody wants to live. We're all looking for happiness. I'm just telling you that. And meditation was huge for me, man. In order to stop the thoughts.
I'm pretty sure it was meditation for me to get away from those fundamental weaknesses that were worth detaching from.
Yeah.
So I could grow.
Yes.
So meditation, it helped me go through what I call the fuck it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
The fuck it's, man. Fuck it. Just
like nah, fuck that. You know what I mean? Like they're
cool.
all things that hold me back.
Yeah.
They could be things that aren't even holding me back, but it was appropriate at the time to say fuck it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So because it got down to the foundations of things that I need to value and focus on.
Massively.
It got me through the stress, through the struggles, and of course you're going to struggle on your whole entire life,
man.
But you're going to find your peace within balance.
It's a beautiful harmony, and they say mind, body, spirit. So it's a triangle. It's the way of living, and so touching on each one of those points, the mind, body, spirit, daily, it allows you to function, because we all need the physical exercise. We need, read a book to stimulate our brain. Everybody's got technology nowadays, where we're looking face down. I grew up in the 90s where I was playing outside and I got to fall down, and those times are still available. We just have to look for it a little bit harder right now, because everything's too easy for us right up the front.
Yeah, man, I think it's a beautiful thing. There's a stage in ballet where they go through, I think it's called it's like second, I really forget the term of it, but it's where they go slowly through the movements.
Okay, yes.
They go slowly.
I don't know the term, but I know what you're talking about.
And they go slowly through the movements, and they figure out the details of it while they go faster when they get into the actual show or practicing the whole thing.
Yep.
They've already figured out the flow, the fluidness of the movement.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing to go through the details. So when you hit fast forward, you got it like that.
Yep. It's automatic.
And I always compare it to falling down in martial arts. They practice falling down so they could get back just as graceful. Yes. In Olympics, once the first person beats the record, they could go through the record. The next person gets through the record, and they don't even see what the past record was anymore, because it is easier to stand on the shoulders of giants. But it's possible to be that giant.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, man, the death of the ego is a great start, man.
And it's a huge giant to overcome. And it just allows you, I believe, they say perspective is gained when you're outside of the situation. Sometimes when you're in that situation, perspective's hard to see. You can't see what's right in front of you until you pull yourself back. And I think death of the ego allows you to have a beautiful perspective on your interactions with other people and how you operate with the world, and which is huge, man. So
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what we got. What do you got to add to the comments when it comes to, the limits of self? And in the spirit of Halloween, since it is Halloween today,
Halloween, my man.
some of those limits of self, are because you have a fear. So what scares you?
What scares you, man? It's perfect. What scares you?
What scares you?
What scares me? Real talk, ships and like claustrophobia, but being standing next to big ships,
Man,
I can't stand that. I feel like I'm gonna get sucked underneath. That terrifies me.
Ships, though.
Ships
were. I want to be a marine biologist, so I admire Jacques Cousteau.
I do too.
But I saw a scene in Amistad where the slaves get chained up and they drop over the boat. And man, I didn't want to be a marine biologist after that anymore. Even though Free Willy was my favorite.
Right. But here's one of them.
It was my favorite movie, but man, I did not want to be in the middle of the ocean because I really think Amistad terrified me. But what scares me, man?
What scares you?
E.T.
E.T.?
E.T. I think
That was a terrifying movie.
not only because he's a midget and his neck looks like a shriveled up penis,
Right.
and that finger and that voice, but because I think he could be real, man. I think the things that really scare you are things that you could believe
could be
in
real.
some form or way are real.
But we don't know about it, right? Because what the biggest thing, we fear it because it's the unknown. We don't know what it is. So unless we have all the facts and information, it's just this unknown entity or whatever it goes about. So
And all you need is the antidote. So speaking on that, where can they find your clothing, your apparel? Where can they find you?
Okay.
Because I'm sure these people are interested.
Absolutely. So www.antidoteinternational.com, all one word. And if you go on there, it'll give links to our Facebook and our Instagram. Me personally, you could go to my Instagram at Smokey, SMOKEY _2769, which stands for Crow. There's a number, I think it's the acronym that goes for that. So you can find me there, which will give you links to all the other pages as well. I'd be more than happy. My email's on our website as well, Christopher at antidoteinternational.com. I love your feedback. Feel free, just get a hold of me. And of course, leave comments for Jai as well. We're both willing. So
Comment on him more than me, though. I don't want
right here. I'll forward it to him. So now you got the middleman, right? So
No, I'm just playing, man. You comment on the section. This is Beyond the Bottom Line.
Beyond the Bottom Line, man. I appreciate you very much for having me. This has been a pleasure, very, very much so. And again, thanks for listening. Thanks for having me as well. Beyond the Bottom Line, episode 2.
Thank you. Peace.